Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, Boruto chapter 74 spoiler review. This chapter right here was definitely a very good chapter. Honestly, it was actually plot altering. Specifically, the first thing that we did actually get to find out in this particular chapter was that Ada and Damon, they are actually coming to the Hidden Leaf Village. Now if you guys did kind of forget a bit, man, because the Code thing didn't necessarily happen in the last chapter, Code is essentially gearing up to start an attack. We don't know specifically what it was, but a lot of people had the idea that Code may actually attack the Hidden Leaf Village in the 3 to 4 days of travel time that Ada and Damon would actually need to actually get to the Hidden Leaf Village. It turns out that that right there is definitely not the case. Now we definitely do want to know exactly what's the situation with Code. One of the things that we also did not get in this particular chapter as well is a Code appearance, a Code sighting. We got no information about Code in this particular chapter or the last. A couple of things that I did want to note is specifically who fell under the control of Ada, and they're kind of making it seem like the smarter you are, the least likely you are to actually fall under the control of Ada. And that right there was completely fine. By the way, Amano actually explained a little bit earlier, so it's not necessarily fully just how smart or how stupid you are. As soon as she showed up, Sai fell under the control. Shikamaru was like essentially the same. He wasn't necessarily blushing or anything like that. A little bit later, some of the more important characters that we do know about. Chocho was absolutely blushing when she seen Ada. Team 10 did actually show up to the spot where Sarada and Mitsuki was actually supposed to be monitoring the whole situation, and they actually got captivated by Ada. So Chocho was enchanted, Inojin was enchanted. Shikadai, however, didn't necessarily have any effects. Sarada didn't really have any effects either. And again, it's not necessarily specifically only this, but it seems like the smarter you are, we do understand that Sarada and Shikadai, they're very, very smart. The least likely you are going to actually be enchanted by Ada's abilities. I do have to point out though, Shikadai himself did actually say that he didn't necessarily get a very good look of Ada, so it might be a certain situation where later on, maybe he does fall under the enchantment. You never know. Sarada also said that she possibly didn't get a very good look of Ada, but I honestly believe that Shikadai and Sarada are probably not actually going to fall under the control. The big thing that happened in this chapter, however, is of course the big fight that happened with Kawaki, Boruto, and Damon. First things first, Boruto and Kawaki start off the chapter already like arguing with each other, so we understood the tensions were going to be extremely high. Damon showing up to this mini content house is essentially throwing nuclear fuel on an already existing bonfire. Like as soon as Damon shows up, he does it jail style, essentially asserts his dominance. Find the biggest and toughest guy that you can find, beat him up, and make sure everybody in that house understands that he's the big dog now. It didn't necessarily fully go that way, man, because the other guy in the house, Boruto, he tried to jump in and help out Kawaki. It didn't go very well for him as well. But regardless, how the fight did actually go, Kawaki tried to use his scientific technology on his arm, tried to hit Damon. At this particular time, Damon was sitting on Boruto's shoulder, so he does have that reflection ability. However, the way it was kind of stated, by the way, shout out to Organic Dinosaur, it kind of sounded like an almighty push from Pain. Now obviously we know that Damon doesn't really have a Rinnegan or anything like that, so this right here could possibly be an ability. But however, I think one of the more realistic possibilities is the fact that he just simply reflected what Kawaki was actually planning on doing. Obviously wasn't necessarily murderous intent, because Kawaki would have been a pack, but regardless, I think that Kawaki was probably trying to knock Damon off of Boruto's shoulders, and that right there is essentially what hit Kawaki. Damon hopped off of Boruto's shoulders and said, matter of fact, I'm not going to use any cheap tricks against you. Kawaki decides he's going to go all out. Kawaki activates his idol juice, so he's going full on Ishiki Otsuki mode. He tries to use the small rods, but Damon absolutely unfazed. He even catches one of the rods with his teeth, and then all of a sudden Damon just appears behind Kawaki and like Cristiano Ronaldo style absolutely destroys Kawaki's right cheek, and then celebrates like speed right afterwards. Boruto at this particular time felt that he needs to get involved. He charges at Damon. Bad idea, by the way. So he essentially tries to punch Damon. Damon catches his fist, and then Boruto tries to do one of the sweeping kicks, but Damon jumps up, completely avoiding the kick, and then appearing right behind Boruto and then punching Boruto in the back as well. It seemed like he didn't really hit Boruto that hard. Specifically, that's what Organic Dinosaur did actually put in the text. It wasn't necessarily like a crater in Boruto's back, but regardless, Boruto wakes up first. Like crazy, right? Kawaki got packed up first, and then Damon handled Boruto, and Boruto woke up first. But Boruto woke up to Kawaki literally laying on Ada's lap. Kawaki wakes up. He's absolutely pissed. Of course, he looks and tries to figure out exactly what's going on. He damn near starts to curse people out, but right before that, they did actually get a call from Shikamaru. And then of course the call from Shikamaru kind of calmed the situation down. Shikamaru kind of asked him, what's the situation, how's everything going, have you met Ada and Damon? Obviously they did, and Boruto said they got thrown in like baptism by fire damn near with the experience of Damon and Ada. And that right there is obvious. Before Shikamaru could even call and figure out if they actually did meet Damon and Ada, they both already got knocked out by Damon. Oh, and I forgot earlier, we were talking about how smart you are and how much of the effect that Ada actually does have on you. This man Konohamaru, bro, honestly, the writers are trolling right now. The writers have to be master trolls, bro. Me personally, I just cannot condone the sensitivities that Konohamaru was exhibiting at that particular time. He is walking up the stairs, sees Ada, and stops directly in his tracks. At this particular point in my mind, I'm thinking this is all regular. We all thought this right here is probably going to happen. Let's be honest, Konohamaru isn't an Otsutsuki member. He's going to fall under Ada's abilities. But I definitely was not prepared for what I was about to see next. This man starts sweating profusely. Organic dinosaur, poor her, she had to put in it that he started to sweat even more. This man's eyes roll to the back of his head and he faints. He falls on his back. And ladies and gentlemen, as I said earlier, he was walking up the stairs. This man falls down the stairs. I ain't gonna lie, at this particular point, I'm not completely done with Konohamaru, but this right here definitely has to be one of the last straws. Now, towards the end of the chapter, a very interesting scene. It's essentially Shikamaru, Naruto, and Amato in the same room, and it seems like they're actually going to now start to question Amato. A couple of things that they absolutely need to find out. First things first, Ada and Damon, the intel on them, specifically Damon Malum, because they have absolutely no information on him. They have a bit of information on Ada just because of the sheer fact that we did actually get to see Ada earlier on in the Hidden Leaf Village. But at this particular time, his information about Damon, his information about Kawaki, his information about how Kawaki got the Karma Seal, his information about what Amato generally wants to do, what is Amato's actual plan, what is more information that you know about the Otsutsuki clan that you have in that cell. He told us a bunch of things like that is essentially what Naruto and Shikamaru are going to ask Amato. Now, the next chapter, it's a very good possibility that Amato talks about some of these things. I talked about this in my podcast. I don't really think that we're going to get all the information from Amato. I think that Amato is just a very secretive person, and when he feels the need to actually divulge some information, that's when he's actually going to do it. Information right now for Amato is his currency. That is how he stays alive, and I feel like at this particular point, it just does not make enough sense for Amato to actually tell everybody specifically what he knows. But let me know what you guys think about this chapter in the comment section down below. Again, these are the spoils. The full chapter is probably going to come out in a couple of days, I believe. I think it's about 2 days, 2 or 3 days. And not only that, I didn't necessarily talk about everything that was actually disseminated in the particular spoils, just some of like the bigger parts. So if you guys do want to see the full thing, shout out to Organic Dinosaur. It's on her Twitter page. But it's been your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.